From horses now to grain and the quality of this year's wheat crop, SUNUP's Austin Moore takes us to Kay County.
My grandpa used to tell me a long time ago, tell me what the weather's going to do and I'll tell you how to farm.
That wisdom is certainly apparent this year. All the work spent preparing and putting seed in the ground is for nothing without Mother Nature's cooperation.
That's one reason we don't have to go to Las Vegas. You know, we gamble here every day, so we don't need to go to Las Vegas to do that too.
Weather did a number on the Oklahoma wheat crop 2 out of the past 3 years. First with a late freeze in the 2009 crop, and now with a 2011 drought.
We were dry last fall. Sometimes that's good if you got enough moisture to get the wheat crop up after you get it planted. If it'll stay dry and it'll grow a little bit, you got a better chance to grow a better root system.
When we have to remember that, we just hadn't had moisture since planting time in October down there in a lot of places. So it's very unusual that the wheat is doing as well as it is.
And that is unexpectedly well in terms of test weight, quality, and in some cases, yields that are low, but better than expected.
We are seeing, just based on the loads that have been taken in from the south part of the state, that proteins seem to be really well right now. We have had ranges from 10.8 to 14.7, but a lot of loads testing right at or above 12%. So that is a positive for us, and the test weights are surprising us out there. We thought there was going to be a lot of maybe 57-pound, 55-pound test weight wheat, but actually we've been seeing a lot of 60s and 61s.
A wheat farmer is an eternal optimist. You never know what's going to happen. You get up every day, and if you're awake, you think, boy, what a great day, you know.
That positive attitude is what draws producers each year to OSU's wheat test plots, like this one in Kay County.
You can't put a price on the value that producers get. It's just experience, it's research, it's education. It's just invaluable.
I think if you look at some of the leading varieties that have come out of Oklahoma State, Duster being one that's been used for producers in the southwest and central part of the state, and then Billings that's been used more up in the northern regions, I think it would be safe to say that if we didn't have those varieties, that the yield potential just would not be there.
Year in and year out, we're going to have some kind of drought stress at some period of the crop cycle. We just haven't had the significance or the extent of drought stress like we had this year.
Brett Carver runs the Oklahoma State University wheat breeding program.
What we'd like to do is perhaps target the genes that we believe are responsible for conferring drought tolerance.
Talk us through a few things here that you're seeing in some of the newer varieties.
All right, very excited about some new things coming out of our program. We've used Duster as a parent in our breeding program long before Duster became Duster. Long before it was a released variety. Okay. So we have a couple of experimental lines now that came from Duster with some other parents mixed in with Duster. What we're trying to do is carry along those good attributes of Duster, but also, like we talked about, raise that yielding ability. Keep some of that disease resistance, Hessian fly resistance, but also raise the yield, maybe improve the test weight and protein. And these two lines represent those improvements. We still haven't decided which one is better of the two. We did lose one important attribute of Duster with this experimental line 209, and that is acid soil tolerance. Okay. That's something we give a lot of attention to, but you know, when you have some other characteristics that just almost outshine that lack of acid soil tolerance, we may go with it. But we have to educate the producer. And that will be important for this variety Ruby Lee as well, because it does not have acid soil tolerance, even though one of its parents, Endurance, is widely known for that ability to tolerate low pH. But again, this is an example where we reached a yield level much higher than Endurance, even higher than Duster, that we thought, okay, let's give that as an exception to acid soils. We know we don't have quite the stripe rust resistance of, say, Billings, but good enough to go in a system where possibly a producer might think about a fungicide. The return on that investment in fungicide is well worth it with a variety like Ruby Lee. Garrison is out of a little bit different genetics than Ruby Lee. It's also a different maturity classification. We like to think of Ruby Lee as an early maturing variety, kind of like Billings. Garrison is more like Endurance, even though it doesn't have Endurance as a parent. The parentage on Garrison would be Hickok and Betty from Kansas State University, and experimental line from Oklahoma State University. Put those three together, we came up with a late maturing, good replacement, good yield enhancement over endurance at that same maturity classification, and good quality, very good quality. I think we're seeing more and more acceptance of the new genetics. I think what it takes to convince them of trying the new genetics are trials just like this that validate the improvement. You know, I can stand up here and talk about it all I want to, but it really takes scientific results to convince growers, just like it takes scientific results to convince the scientists. And so I, as a scientist, and producers as producers, use these results to make those kinds of decisions. Thank goodness we had this kind of system.
And even as these producers continue to look for the latest varieties and the best chance of success, talk inevitably returns to the weather.
I mean, corn and grain sorghum and those things are going in, and they're worried about moisture for those crops as well. So, I mean, the moisture now at this point is not going to do a great deal with the wheat crop, but they're looking towards the future and what else they can salvage for production.